Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics. I have a fun project for you today, and this is practical. This is a roll-up organizer, and we thought, you know what, I can think of so many uses. We love having picnics in the summer. We just throw some snacks and goodies, sandwiches, you know, sometimes things where you kind of want to have your cutlery with you, but how do you organize it? And we just thought this was a lot of fun, so we're going to dive right into it. Be sure to grab the download. This is called the Roll-Up Organizer. If you're watching on YouTube, the link will be right there in the description. If you're watching on Shabby Fabrics, at the very bottom, there's a link that's free downloads. Click that. You'll see this as well as so many others. So this is a great project. It's a great one, too, to use up some scrap fabric, and it's perfect for fat eighths. So the roll-up organizer, 2 pages. Let's dive right in. You're going to want to have, in fact, let me just bring that right back out. Why don't we do that? It's a little bit easier, and I'll take the silverware out so that you're not distracted by that, and we can just look at what will be the architecture of our project. 3 fabrics, makes it lots of fun. And again, fat eighths are wonderful because the first thing you'll want is the outside and the inside will both be cut to 8.5 by 20.5. And I love this ruler is 8.5 wide. So if you've got a piece of fabric that's 9 by 21, which is what a fat eighth is, I love that I can lay this down there. And this is already the footprint of my 8.5. I just literally cut all the way around or on both sides and cut that length to 20.5. You'll do that for both the outside and the inside. And then we'll be using some fusible interfacing. We're using the Pellon 950F, and we're going to go ahead and cut that a 1/2 inch shorter than our 2 fabrics here. So this will be cut to an 8 by 20. And I love that the interfacing is already a 20. So you don't even need to worry about cutting that length. You'll just be cutting that width to 8. Once you have that, by the way, I wanted to show you this before I put this away. This is another collection when I was practicing. This is Floragraphix, and look how I put some fun decorative stitches in there. So, you know, I rarely get to use decorative stitches, so I think that's just a lot of options. On this one, I just did straight lines, but if you want to test out those decorative stitches that may be on your machine, that's a fun option as well. So once you have your outside fabric done, you'll go ahead and just fuse that to the back. And you'll see you've got, I don't know if the overhead camera can pick it up or not, but the reason we cut that interfacing a 1/2 inch shorter is so that on each end, that's a 1/4 inch shorter for a total of a 1/2 inch. It's a lot easier to turn if you go ahead and make your interfacing just that 1/2 inch shorter in its footprint. You'll go ahead and iron that down, and I recommend that you iron from this side because sometimes when I iron the fusible interfacing direct, it kind of wants to draw up. So I'd recommend either a pressing sheet if you're going to iron on this side, or go ahead and flip it over and iron from that side. Once that's done, go ahead and put that aside for now. The next step will be to go ahead and focus on our pocket fabric, which will be cut to 5 by 20.5, and that's what this is right here. Now this is a Moody Blooms. This is a Moda collection. It's so beautiful, and I know you can't see it, but there's a little bit of gold flecks in here. It's just so elegant, so pretty, and we love this Moda collection for spring and summer, especially if you're gonna have a summer picnic, really fun. So when you have your fabric, you're just gonna turn the edge under 2 times, a 1/4 inch, and I like to use my hot ruler for that. So I've already turned this and stitched it to save time, but let's just pretend that that wasn't done yet. I love the hot ruler because I can go ahead, put that in position. I have my nice 1/4 inch alignment here. You can see 1/4, 1/2, 1, all the way up to 2.5. I don't have to try to visually guess where my 1/4 is. I can simply turn my edge over. My iron can be in absolute direct contact with my hot ruler and it won't ruin it. And I love that because, of course, I can never use my acrylic rulers with an iron because I'm going to melt them, right? They're acrylic. So you'll just do this and continue moving all the way down the length. And then again, as you come back, you would again put your ruler there and fold it under another 1/4 and press. And then you're just going to top stitch that. I'm going to go ahead and iron that out because I did go ahead and already turn that edge under 2 times using my hot ruler, and I just did a straight stitch. So we're now at the place where we have our background fabric here, and we have our pocket. So we'll go ahead and just baste that. Sometimes people like to layer lots of things and try to do it all at once. The basting step for me, I don't like to be juggling too many things at a time. So I found that basting this in place now makes the next steps when the elastic starts being introduced, where it's one less thing. I want these to be attached. So that's why we'll go ahead and just do a quick basting stitch, nothing fancy here, 1/8 inch, just around the edge, around all 3 sides. I'll go ahead and just do that quickly off camera so that when we come back, we can just jump straight into the elastic. We can give you some fun options. You know, elastic can be a lot of fun, especially with the sets we have available right now, because sometimes elastic can just be boring and white, and we're not going with boring and white. We have a lot of beautiful colors, but let me get into that. I'll go ahead and get that basted down, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so the next step in our pattern is we're going to go ahead and mark the line where the elastic will be kind of traveling along here. So it's 2.5 inches, so I'm just going to use my Creative Grid 2.5 inch ruler. Now you're going to go ahead and it's going to be covered up. Still, I think using a temporary marking pen is best because you can see this will be lifting up. So I've got a friction pen here, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw my 2.5 inch line. And as you know, friction pens will erase with heat. So later on, when we turn this through and we press, we'll try to avoid pressing our line away, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. This is basically our guidance of where we'll go ahead and have that elastic tracking along. So I will pin that in place, and I should have grabbed my flower head pins. That'd be a good choice. I'll go ahead and just use my patchwork pins. All I'm trying to do right now is just to pin that in at a 90-degree angle. I don't need to pin anywhere else. Make sure you don't have a twist. By the way, this elastic, I got so excited to just show you the next step. During COVID, well, we're kind of still in it, right? I couldn't find elastic. So I was scrambling to have something manufactured that I knew would be comfortable to wear all day long and beautiful, right? If we're going to wear a mask, let's be comfortable and stylish. Why not? So we have, these are 4-yard kind of skeins. These are Pantone colors that I personally picked. We have 8 skeins in each one. This is a pastel set. These are made in South Korea, and this beautiful zippered pouch. And you can just see these wonderful colors, and we're going to be choosing this one today. It's kind of a periwinkle. We have brights as well. Fun stuff for the kids, even for us, right? But if you're more of like neutrals, more earth tones, we have a neutral set for you as well. As I said, 4 yards in each one of those for a total of 32 yards. So you can make a lot of these roll-up organizers and make it fun and personalize that maybe for someone's favorite color, maybe for their birthday gift. So, all right, moving on. I just wanted to mention, you're like, where did that elastic come from? Right here at Shabby Fabrics. Thank you for asking. So we'll go ahead and pin that in place. So that's one of the things we'll do at the sewing machine. And we're just going to be stitching that with an 1/8 inch seam. But before I jump over there, we have this little loop right here. And I picked the same color here, but on this one, to pull out these fun limey greens, I just picked another one that's actually, I think, yep, these are both out of that pastel set. This is 8 inches long. Again, trying to avoid getting a loop in that. About half the distance from here to here, we'll just place those 2 ends right along here. And again, we can just pin that in place. We'll go do that. And we will just baste again we can just baste on that side all the way down 1/8 of an inch and just catch that. Now I'm sewing with a 1D today on a BERNINA 770, and it does a great job of just tracking right over top of this elastic. Get that the same, there we go. All right, let's start sewing here. If the presser foot tries to push it out of place, lift the presser foot up right almost till it gets to it. Then when you're sure, go ahead and go over it and then reinforce. And let's go ahead and do the other side. Okay. I don't think I grabbed my Kai scissors. That's okay. We will make our rotary cutter work. Now this loop, we do want to keep it out of the way. Even if you want to pin both of them back with just one little pin back here, it's nice for this next step so that that doesn't interfere. All right, we don't want it to create a pucker though, so let's give it plenty of space. Just trying to tack it out of the way. All right, for our next step, this is where we'll go ahead and place our other piece, right side together, and I'll go ahead and pin in place, pin well all the way around. So I'm going to keep pinning, and then we will sew. I'll sew, it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you've really got your guide right here. You have that interfacing. You can almost track right along there, and you're just going to leave a 6-inch opening in the bottom, and then we will go ahead and clip our corners and turn that right side out. So I will go ahead and get that process started, but I need to go ahead and pin, and I will do that sewing, leaving that opening. Oh, hey, we can turn that through together if we want. We'll go ahead and do that. That's my favorite part anyway. All right, I'll go ahead and do that part. So I've sewn this around, and I realized once I pinned it and got ready to sew that it was smarter to leave the opening at the top than at the bottom, because I have this additional bulk of this pocket. So I know I said before we went off camera to leave the opening on the bottom. Go ahead and do that at the top. Less bulk, easier to turn. So that's what we have here. Oh, another thing to reduce some bulk, go ahead and just clip those corners a little bit on the 45. That will also reduce a little bit of bulk in the corners. And this is where I really, really appreciated my point turner to help get those corners turned out nicely. And now we can take that pin out where that's holding that elastic down too. There we go. All right, so I just start turning it by hand, of course, like we always do. And then we use that point turner as needed to get in those corners. So let's do that real quick. Such a beautiful collection. I wish you could see this fabric in person. Of course, Moda makes beautiful fabric, and this is especially popular floral right here, this one in particular on the outside. So you see how with my finger, I can't get it any better in the corner. Clover point turner rounded on one side for those curves you might be doing, pointed on the other. I love that Clover often has tools that have more than one function, and I appreciate that because there's times where I've got curves and there's times I've got points I'm trying to get out. And you see how that just makes that come out so beautifully. So that's one of those types of tools that's my go-to. So in the bottom here, you're just going to want to smooth this out, and I kind of just roll that because I can kind of feel that. And we'll press that out. Remember our drawn line where we drew our 2.5-inch line down from the top. And we did that to kind of anchor this elastic, but we're also now going to use this line to try to keep it as straight as possible as we're tacking down our rows, which are coming up next. So try to avoid that. If you inadvertently iron it away, no problem. Once you get everything ironed out, you'll just move that elastic out of the way and just redraw the line now 2.25 inches away from the top. So no worries if you inadvertently just iron that away. Sometimes it just happens. So I'll keep ironing that through in those certain sections, and I'll iron my opening closed by 1/4 inch, and we'll top stitch all the way around. And I'll help you, I'll show you how to keep the elastic out of the way, because we don't want to tack that elastic down just yet. So let me get that tucked under. Okay, I'll keep pressing this out, trying to avoid my drawn line. So I'll pin this closed. In fact, I'm going to use some wonder clips on that. I'll meet you at the sewing machine, and then what we're going to do is we're going to be sewing that 1/8 inch all the way around, and basically as we're coming here, we will just move this out of the way. We don't want to tack that down and pin that in the corner. We'll move it out of the way as we continue all the way around the perimeter and getting that closed, and then we'll start drawing our lines and we'll finish up our organizer. So I'm just going to sew about 1/8 inch. There we go. And now we're ready to move on to making our pockets. This is where you get to decide how big do you want your pockets to be. So that's going to depend, of course. Maybe this is a great one for you to put your sewing notions in. And maybe you want one pocket to be able to fit your rotary cutter. Maybe another narrower pocket to be for a pen. And maybe you're customizing your organizer to fit your favorite notions. Maybe it's a makeup brushes. Maybe it's going to be silverware. So that's what's fun about that, is you can customize those to be exactly what you want. There's no rhyme or reason to the width of the pocket, just whatever you want to put in there. Keep in mind that the shape has curvature and the pocket is flat. So you might want to kind of audition that, of like, is that going to, how much space do I need? And then you can do that accordingly. What I do recommend that you do, and kind of how I started mine, was I kind of just found my center and I just started measuring from there. But even that isn't necessary. You can have those pockets. I just like, okay, that's going to be my center pocket, and I'm just going to measure maybe 1 inch or 1.25 inches. And I just started drawing lines. So when you just start drawing a line, so let's say there's my center line and I want to draw a line, 1.25 on this side. I'm just going to draw all the way down, and then I would just turn it and then maybe draw another 1.25 on the other side of that line. And then you just start. And then maybe you want the next pocket to be for your friction pen, and you don't need a pocket quite that wide, and maybe that will be narrow, maybe 1.25 total, so that you can get more things in there. One thing that I will do with you, and I want to show you that real quick, is what I found when I was stitching this down with even just the straight stitch is, of course, when the presser foot approaches the elastic, it wants to push it out of the way. So you can either just, and that's why you have your horizon line here, you can either pin it in place, we mentioned that in the pattern as an option, and you try to kind of pin this in place so it's not moving anywhere. Or as you're approaching it, you're just mindful that as you approach it, you kind of slow down, get your elastic going right along your line, and go right over it. So let's go demonstrate one of those. I want to show you what I'm talking about so you're able to do yours and be successful. I'll just sew, I can pick any one of those. Make sure your elastic is nice and flat. You might want to start in the middle and work your way to the right and then maybe to the left. But now I know my elastic is good and even. So let's just go straight down. See it, push it, and it's like, nope, I can't have that. I just kind of lift up the presser foot, and as I get closer, now I can hold that right, and my presser foot is on top of the elastic, and now it's not going to go anywhere as I sew over top of it. See how that works? And of course, you just keep sewing that. The next line and the next line. And what I love about that, we can go ahead with our iron and we're just going to iron that line away. And there we have it. So I want to show you what that's going to look like. And of course, you're going to clip your threads. And isn't that beautiful? And see how I kind of think pinning can work, but if you're just kind of finessing where the presser foot is, and as you get close to it, you're just kind of, as you saw me do, kind of position the elastic over your line, trap it with your presser foot, and then sew right over top of it. And then you have your beautiful organizer. And how fun, right? They're practical for us, great for gift giving. They help us stay organized, and they're beautiful. So thank you for giving me part of your day to learn how to make these fun organizers. We would love to see what you've done. Join the social media conversation and post images of your organizers. Maybe we can get some ideas from you. I'll see you soon on a future Shabby video.